Luka, maintain his MVP caliber playoff performance, or will the new guy of OKC SGA take over control of this series, similar to what Anthony Edwards is doing with Minnesota? So stay tuned. Well, we'll break that down in our key players. Welcome to DFS Insights, where the game behind the game comes to life. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The teams up on the block are the Dallas Mavericks at the Oklahoma City Thunder.
With your lineup, success is our top priority. This is where David and I will dive deep into our top 3 players that we like for this matchup. We're going to break down the strategy behind our picks and share the insight that will help you put your lineups over the top and into the money. So if you could be kind enough, please hit the like and subscribe button. That way you can join the DFS Insights family. We're going to be giving away 2 absolutely free lineups here at the end of the breakdown. So you can either, fast forward and just go ahead and grab those. But if you want the insights behind that, go ahead and follow us along here.
Yeah, so what a interesting, game 2 of the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Nuggets. There wasn't expecting a complete blowout, but 26 points to Denver, beating Denver at their home. So, wow, that's rough. So will Luka, maintain his MVP caliber playoff performance, or will the new guy of OKC SGA take over control of this series, similar to what Anthony Edwards is doing with Minnesota? So stay tuned. Well, we'll break that down in our key players here. But before we get over to those key player breakdowns, we're gonna go ahead and just do a quick rehash of just a previous matchup. So looking back at the matchups, between OKC and Dallas, there was a few. One most recently is April 14th. OKC destroyed Dallas by about 50 points, 135 to 86. However, there is no stars. No starter in Dallas basically played that game. Luka, Kyrie, everybody was out, and then the starters of OKC played the first half. So I'm not really gonna reference that game at all because there's really nothing there. The matchup on March 14th, OKC did win that 126 to 119. There was no Luka that played that one, so that's a tough match to also reference in that aspect. So the matchup I'm about to put up here on the screen is from February 10th. Unfortunately, it is still a blowout. However, at least all the players that are in this matchup, in the playoff matchup, actually saw the floor in this. So Dallas did end up winning this 146 to 111. So it looks like SGA Holmgren and Jalen Williams, the JAL, we'll call him J Williams 1. As you can see, there is actually 2 Jalen Williams on OKC, but those are the top 3 there. And then you had Doncic, Irving, and Maxi Kepler as your top 3 for Dallas in this matchup. So yeah, I don't have any access to the optimal lineup here, but looking at it, Doncic and Irving did do quite a bit of work. SGA, he probably could have got more, but it didn't look like he played the fourth quarter. Same with most of their starters. So yeah, this matchup, getting into this playoff, this is game 1 of the semifinals between these teams. OKC's coming in at the favorite, so yeah, I guess Vegas is liking the youth aspect. Clearly, Minnesota is looking great, but it looks, OKC's coming in favored 3.5 points. Pretty high scoring game, 217 is the over/under. So looking at it, OKC's off. These stats are going to be based on the first round of the playoffs. So 110.6 offensive rating, 92 defensive rating, which is basically second to Minnesota, I believe. There, so they're looking really good on their defensive end. Yes, second to only the Timberwolves there. So, and then obviously the pace 96.2. They do have slightly higher pace than what Dallas has been putting on, 93.6. That might be because they were playing, an older team of Clippers, so they had to slow it down for them. No, I'm just kidding. But Dallas, they're looking at 114.8. Their offensive rating 106.7. Defensive. So I think if OKC comes in with that defensive mentality that we just saw on wide open, in the matchup between Denver and Minnesota game 2, then defense is, the Mavericks might have a hard time, but yeah, we'll see. Mavericks has all their stars in place, and Luka's averaging basically a triple double here, so he is notable injury. His game time decision is probable. He's playing. I mean,
Yeah.
unless. Yeah. Unless he gets hurt during the game, I have a feeling he's not going to be, limited in any fashion here. But a big one to keep in mind is Maxi Kebler is out for this. I believe it's this
series. Oh yeah, he was out for 3 weeks at least.
Yeah, so he has an AC joint separation, so that does not sound fun for him.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind because he was averaging about 19 minutes and about 12.6 fantasy points. So obviously that is going to need to get spread around the minutes wise. So that's another reason to, not skip ahead to those lineups and stick and listen up to these key players, which about to get into right after. If David doesn't have anything to add, we'll go ahead and get on into it.
Just shocked that Denver's down 0-2. I did not see the game playing out. I mean, just domination from start to finish by Minnesota, and with no Gobert. So that's just shocking. But I'm definitely excited for this matchup here. Let's dive into game 1 of Dallas taking a visit over to OKC.
All right, so it looks like this tournament is set up 15 entry point, which not a fan of too much. However, I am a fan of the 20K to first and the lower entry total entries at 7,800. So so who we got? Who you gonna be your first up to win you that money?
So first up for me is gonna be Mr. Kyrie Irving. He's coming in at 15,000, and his minutes are up a little bit, over his regular season. He's averaging 40 minutes over the last 5 games. His usage is at 26. He's averaging 43 fantasy points, and I think, I know OKC's defense is rated at number 2, basically left here in the playoffs, but Kyrie's a superstar. He's got some of the best handles. He's played in big games, and big moments, and that's going to be a key thing here that's going to separate Dallas, I think, from this young team. This is the youngest 1 seed I think ever, if not in the last 30 years, that's for sure, to be a 1 seed. So, I'm going with Kyrie. He's been there, done that, and I'll be playing him at the MVP, the star, and the pro. Obviously, we've got other superstars above him like Luka at 17K and SGA at 15.5. So, it's nice not to see Luka starting at 17.5. So that's nice. I'm surprised SGA isn't 16.5, to be honest. So, lineup construction has definitely been interesting. I'm trying to, not make a chalk lineup. But I think going Kyrie at MVP definitely automatically lowers your ownership. Lots of people will be putting, Luka will probably be 60% there, and I'm sure SGA will be, close to 40%. I think putting Kyrie there is going to put you more in that 22 to 15% fantasy range. I would imagine at MVP, he'll probably be highest owned at star. And then again, you could play the ownership game at pro. I will not be putting him at the utility. He is too expensive to do that. So yeah, that's my first play. What are your thoughts? And who do you got for your first play?
Yeah, no, I like Kyrie Irving. I think he's going to do, pretty well in this series. I mean, he doesn't have, according, to a few sites, he doesn't have the best matchup. OKC's only given up about 22 and a half fantasy points to the opposing shooting guard position. Their shooting guard, point guard position, they just gave up, about 27 points to Herbert Jones. And I mean, both, and that's in game 6 and 5, and then 20 points again in game 4. Yeah, basically about 20 points they gave up through the whole series there to Herbert Jones. So yeah, obviously I think he's a little, way better than
Yeah.
Herbert Jones there. So, but no, I like him in this matchup. 15K. I would have liked to have seen him. I know that's where he was at mainly the whole last series, but with that, I would have liked to kind of see him at like 14.5 just to help with with the lineup construction, or 14 would have been nice. But yeah, no, I think you're definitely right with the ownership play at MVP. I think it is significant. I think it was like he was last series like roughly 5% or so. I'll have to double check the numbers, but in the MVP. But then he jumped up to about 20 plus in star. So definitely the ownership play. Don't hate on the utility spot. I mean, Jamal Murray optimal MVP or utility spot at 14K. So in game 2. So will I be playing him in the utility? No. But there is a possibility. It's very slim, but yeah.
I know, right? Huh.
But yeah, no,
sure.
I like the play for sure. Yeah, getting on into mine, I'm gonna go his counterpart, Mr. Luka Doncic here for my number one. You're like, oh no, obviously Luka. Yes, obviously Luka. I do like obviously this matchup too. I do like the fact that he is only 17K and not the 17.5, where 500 is 500, and that comes in especially with these higher, salary, lineups. Some of the playoff matches, the highest player is 15K, and then you can see those lineups compared to these other ones that have a 17K player in them, and 500 is great to have.
Yeah, I know. Right.
So these are his stats basically from the Clippers matchups game series 1. 42 and a half minutes. His usage highest on the team, 34.3. Crazy, crazy. He's averaging 55.5 points. He's projected 56 in this. I mean, he's basically shooting the ball. Field goals about 26 a game, 11 of which are 3-pointers. He gets to the free throw line as well, about eight times a game roughly attempts. He's averaging 8.8 rebounds, 9.5 assists, so basically a triple double, which is crazy. 1 steal, 1 block, and about 3.5, 4 turnovers a game. So yeah, I clearly like him. Even at the 17 price tag, I'm probably eating him at the chalk. I might go him in a few star positions, but I think he's clearly going to be up there. So unless something happens, I see him as probably going to be the raw fantasy point total. He's going to have the best one. So, and he's averaging about 30 real life points a game. So I mean, when I've mentioned this in previous videos, when you have people on your team basically saying, "Oh, it's the same Lucas show every game," complaining that it's they're getting bored just watching him do everything, it's because he is. So that's why I like.
Give me that consistency. Yeah. I'll take that consistency all day long.
Exactly. That's why I like him, and that's why he's probably going to be. I'm going to be. At the field, if not over, he's probably about 60%, I bet, at MVP, if not higher.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree on that projection. Have you noticed in some of your builds, a Luca build, taking you down a certain path since he is 17K? Um, because I know,
yeah, I mean, kinda, but it's like I'm with. There's a few different parts to going down. Once I get kind of I like one guy at 7,500, Aaron Wiggins, but really I trying to find that diamond in the rough player below that. With Tim Hardaway coming back, it kind of gets rid of the lower owned, the lower salary players like Josh Green and Dante Exum, which were really good quote unquote
okay,
fillers from the last game at that low salary where they were getting 10 to 15 fantasy points, and that's great for a 6,500 player because you can have Luca, you can have Irving in the same lineup and just okay, these guys are going to give me 10 to 15 easy, and then you can still have some good salary, but Tim Hardaway's back. So that kind of throws a wrench in using those lower owns. So it's hard using Luca and then SGA and Kyrie Irving. So it kind of it narrows your options down quite a bit.
okay, okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, like you, I'll at least be at the field with Luca at MVP. I will mix it up and put him some at the star, uh, just mainly for the ownership and to hope, kind of like Jokic and Anthony
Yeah.
Edwards. Jokic has yet to be. He's been in the optimal, I think, both nights, and both nights not MVP. So definitely interesting because yeah, it was Pat Williams at MVP, and then it was Jokic.
Mhm.
So uh, yeah, as an ownership thing. But right on. Who you got here for your second play?
Second play, I'm going to go to the other side of the ball here. I'm going to go with Josh Giddey. Wish I would have got to see the full potential in all four games that he played. I think he was coming kind of off an injury the first two games, I believe, in the series there. And he was basically limited, or he played limited minutes. The first game one, he played 19 minutes. Game two, he played 25. But game three and four, he basically went up to about low 30 minutes, which is kind of where he's at. So coming in at the 10-5 salary, I like him both in the pro and the utility spot. Minutes, like I mentioned, a little below what I think he's actually going to average this series at 26.5. I think he will be in the low 30 range, low to mid 30s. I think in this matchup, usage was 20.6. He averaged 23.6 fantasy points, which is great, especially having two games at lower minutes. He's projected 22. The matchup he does have it's okay. It's not the greatest matchup wise, but I think basically they're giving up about 15.4, but the person that they were kind of locking down was Terrence Mann, and he's so inconsistent, especially at DFS. It's like whiplash with that guy. It's like he got 30 points one night, then he got three the other night. At least this guy, he's doing pretty well fantasy point wise when he's getting the minutes, anywhere from about mid 20s to low 40s. He even has a few 50 point games too. So at the 10-5 salary, can't really ask for too much more. So in the series, he was basically shooting about 10 field goals, five of which were three pointers. Doesn't get to the line too often, about twice a game. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, about a half a steal, and about half a block in the series. He averaged 2 turnovers as well. So about 13 points. It looks like he also real life points. So yeah, his stats are pretty good when he's getting the minutes. So I have a feeling in this series, he'll be in that mid. I'd say upper 20s, mid 30 fantasy point range. I have him. That's where I'm kind of putting him at. So
Projecting.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why I like him in the pro and the utility slot. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. Yeah, the pro and utility is definitely where to play him. I'll be having I'm going to be like purposely trying to get exposure to him, uh, mainly mainly because I do like his matchup. I do like his upside. I could see him possibly getting, as you mentioned, his minutes do seem to kind of be ramping up. And again, I do believe he did have some type of injury for that Milwaukee game. Trying to think. Maybe not. That might have been just the last game of the season that they sat their starters. But either way, yeah, I'll be going to that well. I like the 10-5 price. Um, I've seen some projections out there projecting him for just the lower 20s, but I think that's wrong. I have him more uh, in the 28 to 34 fantasy point range. And I know that's, might be reaching, but the 34, but I could see, upper 20s. So yeah, I like to play. Um, I'm going to be staying with the Dallas Mavericks for my next pick. Going with Mr. Daniel Gafford.
give me
Um,
that dude.
I want to let everybody know he did start the playoffs at a salary of 12,500 and slowly made his way down to what you see now at 8,500. So, what do they tell you to do on stocks? You want to buy low and sell high. So, this is the time. You heard it here first. Play all the Daniel Gafford that you possibly can, and if he burns you in game one, go as much Daniel Gafford in game two as you possibly can because he's going to have a 30 plus fantasy point game in one of these first two games. I promise you, and it's it's going to be amazing. He's played them four times this season. In the regular season, he got traded halfway through. He got traded at the trade deadline. So he played them twice when he was with Washington, and then played two games with Dallas, and he basically averaged the same. He averages 31.8 fantasy points. He averaged 23.5 minutes a game. So I have him projected at 30 plus fantasy points. Other websites have him projected for much lower than that. I want to say around like only like 18 fantasy points, if that. So um, this is going to be, my bold prediction. He's got the upside. He is a fantasy point per minute beast, and the potential's there. So I'll be playing him at the pro and the utility, just because I think he has the 30 plus upside. I'm not going to get crazy and put him in the star. There's too many big superstars on this slate that are going to fill in the MVP and the star. So no need for me to get greedy or anything like that. But playing him at the pro spot is definitely the safe way to go if you think he's going to be chalky um, in the utility spot. I don't know. I get the vibe that other people are going to be off of him, but if optimizers out there are saying he's in the optimal lineup, I can see people just throwing that in there, making his ownership go up. So having him at the pro would definitely separate that, and he is good enough if he hits over the 30 fantasy point mark to be optimal at the pro. So, what are your thoughts on my bold predictions here for Daniel Gafford?
You don't want my real thoughts on Daniel Gafford. No, I'm just kidding. No, this dude has burned me so many times. It's like I swear, I pick him when he has those 0 or 5 fantasy point freaking nights, and then like I'll be so butthurt, and I know you're supposed to, forget, have a short term memory with DFS, but this guy has burned me so much. But however, with that being said, I do like him in this matchup. I don't know if he was dealing with some kind of injury or something in the Clipper game, but he wasn't really getting the minutes. I mean, look, Clipper. I think he actually went out in game two. He only got 9 minutes. First game he played
Yeah.
14. But looking at the last four games, 25, 18, 19, and 22 minutes here, he can get fantasy points, and then I think why I like him, and then we'll get into my next play here as well. I think he'll actually get up back to where he was, kind of like mid-season or end of the season here at the mid 20s, potentially low
Yeah.
30 minutes, is because Maxi Klepler is out, and he was taking up 19 minutes. Well, someone has to take up, he has to basically get those minutes, and Gaffer's potentially going to eat, some of them. He maybe not get all 19. I'm not saying he's going to play at 40. I
He,
don't even think if he played a 40-minute
he,
game, he probably ain't playing the rest of the series. He'll probably be tired. But I think he can get up to that 25, 28, minute mark, and even if you game log troll some of the games at 25 minutes, 25 minutes, 34 fantasy points, 24 minutes, 45. Coming down here,
yeah.
27 minutes, he got 57. Or excuse me, 54. So yeah, the potential for him there, and like I said, I think optimizers are showing him in it. So I'm hoping people are, be like, oh, that optimizer's horrible
It's-
because what he
yeah.
did in the Clippers game. So, but I think he will be owned. I think at that 8,500 salary is just too inviting not to do him with the potential. And like you said, like I think he'll hit early, and then his price range will probably go back up to the 10K mark, and then I'll be a little bit more
Yeah.
hesitant to use him. Uh, he's more of a gamble, but at 8,500, he's the gamble's definitely worth it on that. But like I said, if he was 10K or higher, the gamble I would have to consider it a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the big part of this is because he's now at
Yeah.
8,500. That's a huge part that mixed with the upside. So, um, cool. Who do you got for your final play?
Nope, your final play.
Everybody. That's right. My final play is from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Mr. Jalen Williams, the number one,
Jalen
the
Williams
one
number one,
who,
got it.
yep, the one that's 14K. Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 32 minutes. His usage is at 25. He's averaging 35 fantasy points, and he's projected for about 35 fantasy points here in this opening matchup. Um, I could see him getting a couple extra minutes as we get into these deeper rounds and as the matchups become more favorable. He's been he's been arguably the second best guy on the team behind SGA. I think he's a little bit more proven than Chet Holmgren, but I mean Chet's looked great all season, so I'm not gonna hate there by any means. I mean they're a great young team. Um, I do think this is going to be a close game, and with that being said, that could lead him into getting the upper 30 minutes. It looks like. Uh, 40, 35, 34, 37 minutes. So, um, yeah, the the minutes are there. Uh, his upside at the 14K is there. I'll be playing him at the star and the pro, and that's really about it. You could go utility, but at 14K, I kind of draw the line at 14K. You're MVP star pro. I'm not going to go him at MVP because there's too many other people above him that I'm not doing enough lineups to put him in that position. Um, but yeah, he will be. I will be looking to get over the field on him because I just think his consistency is there and upside is still there with where he's at. So, what are your thoughts and who you got here for your last play?
Yeah, no, I like Jalen Williams definitely. 14K. I wish. I think he was. He used to be. Yeah, he
I
jumped
know, like
up. He was at
12.
12. He was basically at 12, 12.5 in the Pelican series. So at 14K, that's. I mean, his fantasy
Yeah,
productions it clearly shows that he's worth it. But he's also another person that you got to throw into the mix of. Okay, I'm going Luca. I'm going
okay.
SGA. Like if I throw him in there, then
Yeah.
I know I have to go, towards that bottom. But It's not as bad. I mean, it kind of it does suck, but it's not as bad. With Gafford, the potential down there at 8,500, that does help quite a bit. Going any kind of lower than him starts to get kind of rough. So yeah, I do like him. Like you said, I'd probably keep him star pro. MVP would be getting. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was doing like 50 lineups, I might have a few, but I don't see. If I was just to do 10, I don't think I would have him in it. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, star
Yeah.
for sure. And I think that's where he'll be probably more star pro, or probably star will be more heavily on just because of the salary range at 14. So yeah,
Yeah. For sure.
he does have I think a decent he has a pretty decent matchup. It looks like Dallas is giving out about 32 fantasy points to his position, so the potential's there for him to be pretty solid lock at the star position. So yeah,
Yeah, I thought that price did feel a little expensive when I saw it, but I just thought, it does correlate with his production. So, uh, we'll see what they do. Game one is always interesting, and then to see where, how FanDuel reacts in game two with the salary changes. So,
yeah,
be
they don't
interesting.
overreact. I promise, they
I
don't.
know, right?
But all right,
Oh,
getting into my last pick here. I'm going back to Dallas here. I'm going to go the other big, Derek Lively the second. I do like him at utility. I do actually kind of like him at the pro. Um, but he's an extra 500 at Gafford. I'll probably be going pretty heavy on both these guys, even in the same lineup. Like I said, with Klebler out, 19 minutes is going to be probably divvied up between Gafford and Lively. They're probably going to get, Lively. I can see getting, extra minutes. He's a younger guy, and he's been doing actually really
he's
well.
been balling.
Yeah, so he's getting, he was getting 20.3 minutes in the last series usage 14.9, 21.4, so he is over a fantasy point basically a minute. He's projected a little bit lower. I think that's, like I said, lower end because OKC just basically got done. Chet Holmgren, I mean, he does have some really good offensive things. And it looks like game one and game three he did have a few, quite a few blocks, but for the most part, Jonas, put up 40 fantasy points, 28, 36. Nance had a few games when Jonas went out. He had 36 fantasy points. So they're they are pretty susceptible to big. So I like Gafford and I like Lively. Both even like I mentioned in the same lineup.
Yeah.
So at the 9K salary, he is a play too. So it just be basically kind of how I see things and how much salary I have to work with. Do I go Gafford with the 85 or do I go Lively at the 9 or do I just use both of
Oh,
them?
do you go both?
Yeah.
I know, right?
So
And then do you put one? Then do you put one in the utility and one at pro?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
the other.
Yeah, exactly. So I like him. Like I said, he's been doing great. Shooting the ball only about 5 times a game attempts. He does get to the free throw about 4 attempts a game. About 6 rebounds, 1 assist, zero point 0.5 steals, averaging a block a game, and he doesn't turn the ball over quite a bit, less than a turnover a game, so that's nice. And he's averaging about 9 points a game, which, like I said, I can see that going up, especially with Klebler out, and he's getting more minutes. Which, in all honesty, being younger, and I think if he got the opportunity, I think he could probably outshine Gafford, in my opinion. But I think Gafford's still, still pretty good center. So, but if I had the choice, I think I would give Lively high high 20s, low 30 minutes, and then Gafford stick to kind of where he's at, like the 20-25 range. But that's why I'm probably not the coach of the Dallas Mavericks. So, but just looking at the production wise from last game, Derek Lively was averaged 21 fantasy points to Gafford's 14.5. So Yeah,
for sure.
but yeah, I like that play. What do you think of that? And before we get over here to our lineups.
Yeah, great pick. If I wasn't, I mean, I'm in the same mind frame as you are as far as the Daniel Gafford and Lively in the same lineup. I'm finding myself into that build quite a bit. It's pretty user friendly, and by putting one of them at the pro spot, you'll definitely guarantee yourself separation from the chalkness, if that ends up being what that is. Let's not forget too, PJ Washington. He's the other power forward center. Lively and Gafford are technically centers only, but we do see them on the floor at this same time. I mean, uh, not not really, but PJ's already getting all the minutes he can handle. So at 35, 34, 41, 35 minutes for PJ, it's like, Daniel Gafford and Lively should soak up the majority of those minutes from Kluivert. So yeah, great pick. I like it a lot, and I will be over the field on Lively for
Nice.
sure. So yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, that's good. So we had, basically another six unique players. So
Six
that's
pack.
nice. Yeah. Get as much information out to everybody as possible. So, before we head over to our lineups, please make sure you do, like, subscribe, notification bell, comment. It does help out the channel quite a bit. We like to get put out in front of more and, continue growing. The audience here, and the more engagement we get, the more information. So please feel free to ask any question. Then I'll obviously will answer up in the comments, and that's just additional information that we can provide. Which more information the better. And if you're just joining, welcome to DFS Insights. We just went over our six key players of this matchup. So, we do that before we give the lineup. So kind of understanding, our mindset and everything into this matchup. So if you're looking at the lineups and like, what are these two guys on YouTube thinking, go back, listen to the key player breakdown, and you'll understand. So with that, without waiting any longer, here's those two free lineups. Looking, yeah, nice. Two completely different lineups. Huh. We both. That's funny. We both went the Lively Gafford, which I think in our defense makes perfect sense. So with that, stay tuned until for future playoff coverage here. So we're going to be probably looking to cover basically the Western semifinals, as they're typically going to be the later and the more higher payout wins here. So I think the next one will probably be another Dallas OKC matchup, and then Denver has about Denver and Minnesota have 3 or 4 days off before their next game 3. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be covering these playoffs as much as we can. And yeah, with that, good luck. Hope to see everybody on the leaderboard. David, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, man, crazy start to the playoffs. The other game tonight, the New York game, man, I caught like the tail end of that, and that was awesome. Jalen Brunson had like 43 real life points, and New York finally gets a playoff win in the second round. So that was pretty exciting to see. But yeah, we're here. We're here for the rest of the playoffs. Be sure to stay tuned for each of the videos, and just like, subscribe. We're here to help you make money, and let's get this money while the NBA season is still here. And I look forward to see you guys on the leaderboard. See you on the next one.